All right, let's answer this question here. So it's taken from VCAR 2017, paper 1, question 23. 4 lines of an amortization table for an annuity investment are shown below. The interest rate for this investment remains constant. So the interest rate for this investment remains constant, but the payment may vary. All right, first off, before we even get to the main part of this question, there are so many different things about this question than what we've previously seen. First of all, this is an annuity investment. Okay, so this is an investment. It's not a reducing balance loan. It's an investment. So do you notice how my balance of investment is increasing? And that's because it's an investment. It's adding money each time. The money is increasing each time. And the reason why the money is increasing each time is because you're making a payment and you're also generating interest. Now, you have to be careful with what we've been told here. We've been told that the payment may vary. So even though it's 100, it's 100, it's 100, it doesn't mean that this here will be 100 because the payment may vary. So this could be something other than 100. What remains constant is the interest rate. So whatever the interest rate is here, that's remaining constant across all of these payments. Okay, let's keep on reading now. It says the balance of the investment after payment number 20 is 7,500. So that's what we're seeing there for payment 20. The value of the payment for number 20 is closest to. So we're after this right here. That's what we need to figure out. Okay, how can we do this? Well, we've got a few things happening here. To figure out this one, we're going to have to first figure out the interest, and we're going to have to figure out the principal addition as well. Let's begin by talking about this principal addition, because this one should be pretty easy to figure out. First of all, you have to understand how this works. So I'm making a payment of $100 into this investment account, and the investment account is also earning interest of $27.40. So my principal addition is the addition of these two things. When I add them together, I get that. So too for the next one, when I add these together, I get my principal addition. Notice how this is different from a reducing balance loan. So that's the first thing you want to take note of. The fact that, I have to figure this out, I have to figure that out, plus that to get this. Now, if I know my previous balance of the investment is 7233.83, and then I know that the next one is 7,500, then I can figure out this one, and I'm going to zoom in here. I can figure out this one pretty easily. I can just say, well, my principal addition will simply be 7,500 subtracted 7,233.83. And if I was to do that, I'm going to get this. Let's quickly do it. Minus 7233.83 is going to be 266.17. That's what it's going to be there. That's my principal addition. And again, I just subtracted those two numbers there. In order to get my interest, now this is where it's going to become a bit trickier to get my interest. To figure out the interest, I'm going to have to figure out the interest rate. And to do that, it's not too bad. What I'm going to do is this. I'm going to say, when I have a balance of this, the interest that is generated off it is $27.91. So what I can say is 6977.50 times by some interest rate that I don't know is going to be equal to 27.91. If I therefore want to figure out what this interest rate is, I can simply go 27.91 divided by 6977.50. So what I'm doing there is just rearranging this. And when I do that, what am I going to get? So 27.91 divided by 6977.50. So that's going to leave me with 0.004. So that means, and this is what is really important now, if I was to take this number right here, 7105.41, and times it by 0.004, I should get 128.42. And sure enough, oh, now I do get that. Sorry, I should get this one. My bad. That one, 28.42, because that's the interest generated off it. This is the interest plus my payment. So it works. We get 28.42. Therefore, I can take this number here, 7233.83, and do the same thing. That number there. And that's going to give me 28 point, now we're going to round it, 94 in interest. All right, we're nearly there. So we have figured out the interest. We have figured out the principal addition. Therefore, to figure out this now, to figure out this one right here, which remember is what we're after, I'll put a box around it because this is what we're after. To figure this out, what I'm going to do is take 266.17 and subtract it away from 28.94. And when I do that, 266.17 minus 28.94, I'm going to end up with 237.23. So that's how much I'm making as a payment into this investment. And of course, when you add that on to my interest, so I plus that on to 28.94, I get my principal addition of 26.17, which we can see there. Whew. All right, which of those is closest to my right answer? Well, remember, it's 237, so it's going to be D. D would be my correct answer there. Let's now look at how many people got this correct. So this is question 23. Question 23, the answer is D. 38% of people got that correct. So a question that was not well done. It was so poorly done that VCAI gives us a bit of a spiel about what people should have done here. So let's give it a read. Question 23. This question required the interpretation of an amortization table and the calculation of a missing payment value. Many students seem to assume that the payment value would remain constant at $100, despite the question stating that the payment may vary. The solution required 4 steps. First things first, you can understand why VCAI got annoyed, because as you can see here, it says the payment may vary. So despite the fact that it's at 100, 100, 100, that didn't mean that this was going to be 100 because it said the payment may vary. It's also kind of a silly question, isn't it? If it's a silly question to ask if the payment was going to be the same, because the value of the payment of number 20, well, if they remain the same, then it's just 100. And that's why so many people put B as their right answer here. If you look here, 35 people said B because they just thought it remained constant. They didn't read the question. Silly people. Step 1. So these are the 4 steps you should have followed. Calculation of the missing principal addition by subtracting the balance after payment 19 from the balance after payment 20, doing that, which is what we did. Step 2, calculation of the interest rate. This could have been achieved by finding any of the interest payments from the table as a percentage of the previous balance. We actually went about this in a slightly different way, and I think the way we went about it was better. As you can see, they did that, which is what we did, but then they times it by 100 to get 0.4%. And that's correct. It's increasing by 0.4%. But what you want to do is you want to keep it as a decimal. Now, this is where it gets a bit confusing, everyone. This is 0.4%. We don't want it as 0.4%. We want it as 0.004. That's what we're going to times our numbers by in order to calculate what the interest is. And that's why we kept it as 0.004. It's really important that you get your head around all this business of percentages and decimals. That's really important. So if you're struggling with that, make sure to reach out, okay? We continue on to step, what step are we up to? Step 4, step 3. Let's go to step 3. Calculation of the interest at payment number 20. This could have been done by finding the percentage from step 2 of the balance after payment 19. So as you can see, they took 0.4 over 100, which is the same as 0.004, and times it by that to get this, which is what we did. Any level of rounding would result in an interest value of approximately 28 or 29. Fantastic. And then finally, calculation of the payment. This could have been achieved by subtracting the interest from the principal addition, both calculated above. If students used more decimal places in the interest rate, their answer would still be the closest to the correct answer of 237. Students must be familiar with the calculations that are used to create an amortization table and be able to use these to complete questions such as this. All right, there was a lot of reading there, but hopefully that has made sense of this question here.